I'm Austin Coleman, we're in sunny South Florida. Today we're going to learn step by step how to do a downside tail whip on a quarter pipe. Alright, so the first thing with a downside whip on a quarter pipe is to pick a quarter pipe you're comfortable with. Basically, you're going to want to pick the steepest quarter pipe you're comfortable riding because that will enable you to get the best position to do a downside whip. Personally, I did it on the 9-foot. I turn to the right and I also tail whip to the right. So my natural way to tail whip is downside. A lot of people whip with their back foot, but I whip with my front foot. So if your natural way to whip is with your back foot, then you might want to do an opposite air. The easiest way to learn a downside whip is to go straight up and down and not carve, because that's going to allow you to get in the best position to get back on your bike. The trick to the downside tail whip is to leave the bike behind. And what I mean by that is when you go up a quarter pipe, you'll start turning, but leave your bike pointed in the upward direction. You're going to meet back up with it later. So you go up the quarter pipe straight, and when you start turning, leave your bike this way, then you're going to whip the tail whip late, and you're going to meet it as you get to the landing. Alright, so when you see a lot of people do downside whip, it looks like they're kicking the bike really hard, but in actuality they're not. It's almost just kind of like a formality. Like you go up and you kick the back tire lightly, but mostly it's going to be all in your arms. Alright, my personal secret to the downside whip is to make sure the bike disappears. And what I mean by that is when you go up and your bike stays straight, you're going to be looking back down towards your landing. You shouldn't see the bike at all. Your weight's going to need to be all the way over the landing and your bike's going to be almost behind you. So once the bike disappears, you know you're in the right position, but that's the scariest part. But if you can get in that position, you know you're going to be poised for a better landing. And then the first thing you're going to look for are those pedals, because you want to make sure that the pedals are going to be right underneath you right before you get to the landing. And once you find the pedals, you can figure out where to adjust the rest of the bike to. So once you get comfortable doing it on the quarter pipe, then you can kind of start doing it on other things, maybe like the hip, maybe like a box jump. You can start throwing it in spins, you know, make it your own. This is the downside tail whip.